Hey, what's up? I'm Guy.
I'm John.
This is our YouTube channel. We're glad you're here. Subscribe to the channel. Give this video a like.
Check out our podcast below in the description.
All right, John. Breakout candidates for the NFL. We've got 4 names here, and we'll just talk about legit breakout candidate or hot name. Who do we like? Here's a guy we've talked about forever. I love this as a breakout candidate. Sam Darnold. Year 3. The first 2 years have been a lot of everybody saying, Sam Darnold's about to be a superstar, man. That's what everything coming out of college was. I watched his whole college career. You watched his whole college career. Both of us understood why he was a major prospect. I do remember, though, just thinking in the back of my head, I never felt like it. It wasn't like Rosen. It never got put together, but it never quite all came together in terms of like the big moments. Maybe I'm being too harsh. What do you think?
Well, before we get to his NFL career, remember he has the great first season. They get to a Rose Bowl. They win the Rose Bowl?
They beat Penn State, right?
They beat Penn State. He comes back with a ton of hype, well-deserved. And remember there was talk, like, if they had started him earlier, maybe they would have been in the playoffs. Like, he had that big of an impact year one. And they were the hottest team in the country. That second year had some Jameis Winston junior season vibes to it. Remember, turning the ball over a little bit too much, doing a lot. He was a polarizing player, I think, coming in the draft, though he was viewed as a lock top 5. And I'll never forget at his pro day, John Dorsey, Jimmy Haslam is like, he's going to be the number 1 pick in the draft. And then all of a sudden, the draft happens and it's Baker Mayfield. We'll get into him a little later. Sam Darnold, you look at his first 2 years, shitty team, terrible skill guys, a GM that's already fired, a coach that I think most people view as a weirdo. And when it comes to offense, he was once upon a time viewed as like a McVay, Shanahan. Safe to say that's a little out of the window. His biggest offensive skill addition was Le'Veon Bell, and it feels like Le'Veon Bell now stinks. So you look around, they draft, the freak from Louisville, I think Becton in the first round, who's like a dancing bear. But so he protects them, and their offensive line's better. But who's he throwing to?
Well,
Robbie Anderson's gone.
Then they took Denzel Mims in the second round, the wide receiver.
So there's just so you're telling me there's a lot of pressure on a first round guy. I look at his numbers through 2 years. Now remember he missed some games with mono last year, and they went I think like 7-2 or something down once he got back. But if you break down the teams he beat, wasn't as impressive as you think. He's 36-28, so a little bit better than a 1-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio in his career. The number that I see that's pretty terrible, though, guys, he's under 60%. In a league that, even if you're just kind of a guy, it's pretty easy. Like back in the day when we were kids, like 60% was like the mark. Now 60%, I'd say the new. They say 60 is the new 50. Wouldn't you say like 65 is the new 60 almost? 64 in the NFL?
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say
in the 50s is atrocious.
To me, like you need if it's under 63 is when it really gets my attention, I'd say. I don't know, maybe I'm being too generous though.
So I'd say right now it hasn't been good. But I follow him on Instagram. I follow Jordan Palmer on Instagram. They've been putting in work this summer. To me, if he's got to stay healthy, when I mean no mono, no corona, and I think he could just turn the corner as just where you go, yeah, this guy can really be something. I'm not expecting this guy. I think it would be very difficult. He could have a breakout season without being a Pro Bowler. I think when we'll look at other guys like that, to me, it's going to be difficult for Sam to become a Pro Bowler, right?
This year, yeah, but I don't.
Yeah.
But like you said, we're not asking for that just because it's been the first 2 years have been so weird. Some of it not his fault, a lot of it not his fault, but they're just what it has done is it has left the big question mark hanging over. Like, is this just the way it's always going to be? You keep trying to put it all together, or is it going to get put together to some degree that we feel better about it, justifying all the hype that we had coming out? Because I think a lot of it right now is it's like, oh, if you know what it looks like, you can see it. But it hasn't really shown up on paper yet, right? And to be fair, looking back at his sophomore year, the first year as a starter, I mean, he beat UCLA was ranked to finish the year. Then he beat Notre Dame, and then they beat Penn State in a shootout. So
Do you have his college stats up right now?
I did a second ago. I can pull them up though.
Well, like his following year, so that was his redshirt sophomore year.
Yeah, redshirt sophomore year.
He came out as a redshirt sophomore, right? That was his redshirt freshman year, the year that he got thrown in for Matt. What was his name? The tall quarterback from Washington, Brown.
Yeah.
And so he kind of takes over for him like week 3 or 4, and they start winning all those games, like you said. But then the next year coming into all the hype.
Yeah, he redshirted. Then he played that year, the year they lost to Alabama week 1, and then
then sophomore he plays a little underwhelming, comes out.
Exactly. So he was 67% as a redshirt freshman, 31 touchdowns, 9 picks. The next year was 63%, 26 touchdowns, 13 picks.
Yeah. I just remember watching him that year, some bad picks in bad spots. I think he had a bad game. Was it against Cal? Remember he threw some picks. I remember correctly.
Remember he had 16, which was his redshirt freshman year. I mean, he had Juju, right? I think Juju caught like
that helps.
70 balls or something.
Yeah, that helps. So I'm still a believer in this guy, though I understand the other side. Like you can look straight. Like, is this guy a franchise quarterback? To me, he doesn't have. He's either going to break out this year or he's not. Like, to me, this is a huge year. I think no player has more just like kind of pressure on them to just show something. Like, are they in the point, if he doesn't break out this year, are they at the point where, are they picking up his 5th-year option?
Yes.
You know, I mean, a lot can happen fast.
I would say yes. I would say I agree with everything you just said. I also think, given his stature, given how highly people do think of him, given how bad everything around him has been.
High character guy.
I think this can be a make year. If it's the same year it was last year, that's not good, but I don't think it's a break either. I still think there'll be a lot of people that believe in him.
Yeah.
You agree with that?
I would tend to agree. The GM, though, did not draft him.
It's true. You don't want to be in this position where you're talking about this after 3 years. Then it makes you're optimistic right now. I think we're optimistic about him. You do the same thing again, you're a lot less optimistic.
You just start putting the pieces of the puzzle together. You go, new GM, coach likely to be gone. Like, they're just some moving parts, right?
Yeah.
Some parts moving here.
Yep.